I'm a Sinhalese from the majority community. I'm not a member of the brutalized Tamil people. I'm a doctor of medicine and my only concerns are humanitarian. I quit Sri Lanka some 30 years ago, and who governs Sri Lanka, whether it is President Rajapaksa or anyone else, is of no concern to me as long as it is governed without bloodshed, the extensive violation of human rights, and the taking of the country to a presidential fascist dictatorship. It is only the international community that can stop the downward slide of Sri Lanka, and it is to inform the international community of what is going on in Sri Lanka that I am presenting this DVD. I've called this presentation Sri Lanka, the Ethnic Crisis, What the World Must Know. I do not believe that the world does know what is going on behind the closed doors of Sri Lanka because of press censorship, intimidation of the media, and even self-censorship for survival of the media. And I will deal with some of this in this presentation. Before I get on to the ethnic conflict, I must make a comment about a crisis that Sri Lanka is facing. We know that there is an ethnic crisis, a humanitarian crisis, an economic crisis. But the crisis that is unrecognized is a crisis in governance and of democracy. The outlook for the country is poor when there is rampant corruption at the highest level, indeed at every level. There's blatant nepotism and absolute incompetence of the government. The current government of President Rajapaksa is run by himself and two of his brothers. The police and the armed forces and the legal system is corrupt and partisan. One of the international transparency groups said that the police are the most corrupt in the world. The need to defend the country from an imaginary enemy, and I'll go into that later, where dissent is silenced by assault, murder and imprisonment, where underworld characters and hoodlums are part of governance, where questioning the violation of human rights is equated to treason, where media people are muzzled, threatened and even murdered. And the rule of law is replaced by emergency regulations and the Prevention of Terrorism Act, where opposition MPs are bought, threatened or imprisoned. Draw your attention to the fact that there are 85 cabinet ministers and non-cabinet ministers in Mr. Rajapaksa's government, the largest number in any country in the world. Where political problems are settled by state violence. These are signs of a fascist dictatorship being established in Sri Lanka, and that may be irreversible. Firstly, where is Sri Lanka? Some people don't even know where the country is. Well, it is, as many people know, at the bottom of India, just 20 miles, 36 kilometers from the Indian coast. It is in a critical geographical position with significant geopolitical implications, which I will get into at the end of this presentation. The point of greatest importance is Trincomalee, the 5th largest natural harbour in the world, which can be and has been for many years a source or potential source of a military foreign base. Firstly, a few comments about the geography and the climate of the country, which has a significant bearing on the ethnic conflict. The central hills intercept the southwest monsoon that brings most of the rainfall to that country. The result is that the southwest here is wet and fertile. The north, the east and parts of the south are dry and arid. And I'll show you in a moment what wet and fertile and dry and arid is. The Tamils live in the north and the east. This is arid Jaffna, where the Tamils live. Education, the professions and government jobs are the top priority coming from a land like this. This may be one of the reasons why the Tamils have put top priority on education. It is also the reason why, if you discriminate against these people in this area of education, the reactions are likely to be serious because it means so much to them. This is the lush fertile south where the Sinhalese live, and from where I come. The emphasis in this area is on agriculture and land ownership. But we now deal with the peopling of Sri Lanka. This occurred some 2,500 years ago and is based on history and legend. The legend being suitably adjusted to justify Sinhala Buddhist ethno-religious chauvinism, and I will go into that presently. The two main ethnic groups are the Sri Lankan Tamils, originated in South India and migrated to Sri Lanka, and the Sinhalese, who say that they came from North Indian Aryan stock. The legend, which has made a major contribution to the adverse contribution to the problems in Sri Lanka, is the Mahavamsa, the great chronicle, written by a Buddhist monk in the 6th century AD about events in the 5th century BC. It is essentially what I call a textbook of anti-Tamil Sinhala ethno-religious chauvinism. Let me tell you this absurd story as set out in the Mahavamsa. Mahavamsa states that the Sinhalese originated from a lion. A North Indian princess was thrown out of her kingdom by her father for misbehavior, and then mated with a lion and produced two children, Singhabahu and Singhaveli, boy and a girl. The boy and the girl had the body of a human being and the paws of a lion. They lived with their mother and father in a cave, and then at the age of about 16, the boy decided to abscond with the mother and sister and arrive at a nearby village. There he found that the villagers were upset that the lion was taking away their cattle. And the king offered 2,000 pieces of gold for anyone who bought the head of the lion. Now Singhabahu, knowing very well where the lion was, that was his father, went and shot the lion and brought the head on a plate. There was great rejoicing, and later Singhabahu was crowned king. He married his sister and had 16 pairs of twin boys. The eldest of these 32 was a person called Vijaya, who behaved in such an atrocious manner that he and 700 of his followers were thrown out of his kingdom by his father, who put him in a boat and said, "Go." And he drifted and arrived in Lanka. Now, every country has got absurdities such as that in their history. There's nothing peculiar or nothing strange. The next part of the Mahavamsa is what is called dangerous nonsense. It says that Buddha, who died in India, on his deathbed, in fact, on the very day he died or passed into nirvana, called the king of gods and said that on that very day, Vijay was arriving in Lanka. And could the king of gods make sure that Lanka becomes the custodian of Buddha's teachings, which is Buddhism? That is the reason why Buddha's followers, or supposed followers, the Buddhist monks, claim that Sri Lanka is a Sinhala Buddhist nation. This is the Sri Lankan flag designed at independence in 1948, and it says it all. Here is the lion, representing the lion race, with a sword in its paw. It's an aggressive lion holding a sword. Currently, it's holding a gun, the Kaffir bombers or the rocket launchers. These stripes are the Tamils and the Muslims. In fact, when this flag was designed, I was around, and the original flag did not even have the stripes for the Tamils and the Muslims. It just had this very ferocious lion. And it was only after the Tamils protested that this was not the only ethnic group, and the Muslims protested, that they produced two stripes